Euphoric day, and welcome back to WokeAF podcast with host me, MsMastaFoXX, and MsWhizdom.
Yes.
It's a critical time for critical thinking, CT for CT, and that's what we're all about. We fact check the anti-woke while stimulating your mind in higher consciousness.
We're battling the disinformationists.
Yes. This is episode 2. Are you woke? It's a very good question.
Yes, we are.
We definitely are. But yeah, it's a good question because we've been talking about this a lot, or you've been hearing about this a lot in media, social media.
Everywhere.
And it's not that it's neo or new. It's just that people are using it actually incorrectly, which is making it stand out.
In a negative way.
Right. You know, they're so anti-woke that they use it to represent anything that is derogatory.
Yes. Anything that's vituperation based.
Yeah.
When someone's being insulted for being woke. When it's not actually an insult.
It
means you're aware of things going on around you.
Yeah. And this has actually been a concept for so many years, thousands of years. You know, every time we evolve, we become more woke. And people start to neo-stand that they can see more, do more, and experience more because they're more aware.
And mentalities start to shift.
Yeah.
Perspectives shift. They see what changes need to be made.
Right.
What should no longer be accepted.
Exactly. Every century, you can see how people have evolved into being more what they would call woke. There was a big time during like the Renaissance period where people began to kind of speak out against the norms or religion and focus more on creativity and art and expanding their minds.
Like the Enlightenment period. And we can go back way before that.
Yeah.
The Egyptians.
Right.
They were woke.
Even
they were doing experiments.
Egyptians, facts.
We can go back before that, the Dogon.
Right.
Using the stars to navigate. They had no equipment. How were they able to do that? They were woke.
Right. So being woke just means that you go outside of the so-called norm for your time. The inventors, they were all woke because they stepped outside of the boundaries that we thought were there.
They were innovative visionaries.
Yes.
They could see things that were needed.
Yes. So being woke is also using your imagination, visualizing those things that we want to create, and then actually putting that into action.
And actualizing your dream from that imagination. It is now reality. It's now in the physical realm.
Right. So basically, if no one became so-called woke, we wouldn't have evolved. We wouldn't have modern humans.
Exactly. Consciousness would have never evolved to where it is now.
Yes.
And it's constantly evolving. Who knows where it's going next? Generations from now.
Right. So being woke is definitely a connection to our consciousness, or what we call the higher consciousness, because that consciousness is beyond what we just see here in society or what we've been taught.
In the physical world.
So when you ask yourself that question, are you woke? Just look at, are you able to expand your mind and, not limit yourself just based on, the past or things that you've already been taught or told.
Exactly. Can you see past the bull?
Yep. That's what it really comes down to.
And see things for what they really are, not what somebody or not how somebody wants you to see them.
Right. And that is a necessity, actually. Every generation sees a little more because they come with those codes from the previous generation. The energy keeps recycling. So,
we keep evolving.
Yes. So you're able to see things in a more expansive way, a more innovative way, just like how we have technology in this Neo. They couldn't have imagined the things that we do in this time hundreds of years ago.
Exacts. Just like we can't imagine in 1,000 years from now what kind of technology they'll have.
That's so true. And it's important for us to pay attention to what is going on with us at this time so that we could keep elevating past what we just know or we think we know.
And see past blatant lies.
Yeah.
That people are exhibiting in your face.
Right.
Literally trying to gaslight.
And they do a lot of gaslighting when it comes to talking about people being woke or describing woke, because they try to use it in their own context that really has nothing to do with the term.
And they have no context because they don't understand what it even means.
Right. They really don't. And they think that we're so slow, or, our minds are so slow that we are not able to keep up with this, what they're doing, and it's funny to me because they are the ones actually limiting their minds. They have a slow motion action. And the only reason why is because they cannot allow themselves to upgrade to a higher frequency. They're keeping themselves back by feeling like woke is a bad thing.
By not doing research and finding out what it actually is. And it's simple.
And you should be proud to be woke, because that means that you're thinking outside of what people have tried to program us to think.
Exactly. That means that you see a trans person and you're not threatened by them because it has nothing to do with you. That's how they want to live their life. That's their choice.
Yeah. And really, there's nothing wrong with it because that also occurs within nature. Okay. Somebody that is different is just being who they are. Just because they're different from you doesn't mean that they're not supposed to be that way.
Right. Too many xenophobes.
Yes.
They see someone who's different and instantly it's a problem.
Yeah.
Instant fear.
Right. But we didn't create ourselves. So how can you tell somebody how they should feel, how they should express themselves, and how they should connect with a certain gender? First of all, we need to get this straight on what gender and sex is, because these anti-wokers definitely have it confused, and we need to fact check that.
Yeah, that's one of their big issues. Gender and sex are not the same thing.
Not at all. Okay. Gender
is socially constructed.
Yes. They're social constructs that were designed by humans in society. Okay.
Yes.
So it's not a term like that we have to abide by. Like it's connected to our natural form. Okay.
Right.
So if you are a woman, man, non-gender, non-binary, that is okay, because these are just ideas of what we think we are.
Ideas coming from other people.
Yes. And your sex is what you are biologically.
Right.
But they get this confused too. I always hear, there's only 2 sexes. That's not true. I mean, even our president got it wrong. It's
definitely not true. We have intersex.
Yes, they forget that there is other things biologically out there, okay? And intersex is something that is real, and these are people that exist.
Yes, they are.
And we can't just talk about it as if they do not exist.
And they can't be categorized as male or female. They have different traits.
Yes, they could have.
Sometimes it's ambiguous genitalia.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes they just have different chromosomes. Sometimes they can have male chromosomes and female chromosomes, but it only expresses the female on the outside and the male inside.
Exactly.
And vice versa.
The external genitalia doesn't match the internal reproductive organs.
Yes. So when you talk about intersex, this is on a spectrum because there's so many different types of intersex. So when we talk about sexes, there's definitely not just 2 sexes, male, female, because you're just leaving out, millions of people. And it's time to speak up about that, because it's just not just a rare occurrence. I've heard that before. Oh, that's just a rare occurrence. No, it's not.
Or some think it doesn't exist at all.
Yeah.
Which is completely false.
Exactly. All right. Definitely, there are more than 2 sexes. We have to count intersex. And there are over like 70 different ways. I mean, they're still researching this, and then the reason why it hasn't been widely talked about is because of religion. Most of it is religious bias.
A lot of religious bias.
And we need to step away from that because it is not elevating us as a people, in society. We can't group everybody underneath one set of people's beliefs.
And why do you even care if it doesn't pertain to you?
Right. It's not your life. It is that person's life, and we all have a right to express ourselves the way we feel.
However we want, not dictated by another human who didn't create the universe or the rest of us.
Exactly. And like I was saying, in nature, there's all types of ways of expressing your sexes, and you don't even look at it like that. When we talk about humans, we think of it as this taboo thing. But in animals, there's so many different combinations.
There are.
There's even like a set of sea snails that they both connect and have intercourse, and they both produce babies. So they're like a form of an intersex animal. So there's so many different expressions. There's even gay animals. There's animals of same sex.
There's lots of those
that actually come together. They have relationships, and it's hundreds of different species out there in nature. So it's so funny to me when people try to act like that's not a human nature when it's in nature, period.
Exactly.
Okay?
So, we don't define nature. We live in it. We observe it.
Yeah.
We experiment.
Right.
We figure out what it is because there's so many levels to nature.
Yeah, exactly. It is time for us to become woke and really see that just because we live our lives a certain way doesn't mean everyone's going to live their lives that way. And we shouldn't judge people because they're not hurting us. Why should we worry about that? Why is that going to be a issue in our own life?
And it's unbelievable that in 2025, people are still perplexed by this issue.
Yeah.
Which really shouldn't even be an issue.
Right.
This is something that is on an individual basis. How the person feels internally. Right. It has nothing to do with you.
That's right.
So I don't see why we make this a mainstream topic.
Yes. And it's always the anti-woke people that push this idea as something we need to focus on, and we need to, make all these rules about. Oh, they can't use the bathroom. Please.
People who lack a clear understanding of human nature fundamentally.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, why can't you just focus on the real issues that we have in life? People invading people's spaces and privacy, and those are the things that really are important.
And people causing harm to others.
Yeah.
Somebody dressing a certain way, wearing a certain hair color, expressing themselves how they want to is not harming anyone else.
Not at all. They're living life the way they want to live life. And you, the one that are judging, you're actually the one with the problem because you're paying attention to other people instead of enhancing your own life.
And using it for political gain.
Right.
Acting like the reason that your economy is in shambles is because of a transgender person. It definitely isn't.
No.
What would they have to do with your economy?
Exactly. And these people are just so ridiculous. I mean, I posted a TikTok and I put it on my YouTube, also a video about me showing how anti-wokers sound, okay? And I mean, you guys have to check it out. Marjorie, if you guys don't know who she is in the government, she's ridiculous.
She's a representative for Georgia, and I don't know why she's even still here.
Right.
Because according to her own rhetoric, federal employees are unimportant. That includes you. Little smart one.
She forgot. She's anti-woke, so
She forgot that she's a federal employee.
Yeah. So she says some crazy mess about the Ice Age and how the government, something about the government being in the Ice Age. And it was just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, there was no government in the Ice Age.
Exactly. It's like
there were no taxes.
You're right. They say the most random things, okay, but they're supposed to be these smart people. And somebody commented, what is a woman? Like, What does that have to do with the post, first of all? And I'm already knowing
Nothing
that
at
they're
all.
bringing it up because they're anti woke, literally. Because anti woke thinks that woke is only about trans and only about, these type of arguments, only about being black or, you know, having, it's just being a woman. It's just, what the heck are you guys even talking about? you
And
know?
because Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace are
Yeah.
two of the biggest ones always pushing an anti trans bill
Yeah.
and worried about who's using what bathroom.
Right. It's just so ridiculous. And you guys have to stop doing that. Like, literally, woke does not mean to be against the so called norm. That, people aren't being who they want to be just because they want to rebel against society. People want to express themselves the way they truly feel inside.
Right. And people want to know why the Republican House and Senate are just sitting there like a bunch of ventriloquist dummies and not
Yeah.
saying anything and watching as their president destroys the country
Yeah.
that he's treating as his company.
Yeah.
But we
True.
see how he did those.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're asleep. They're over there asleep. They're all anti woke and they're just following the leader, as we have mentioned before. They're still attached to the age of Pisces energy where they just follow the leader, follow whatever, follow the cult leader, right? But Age of Aquarius is here and we are woke and we see through the nonsense. Okay. If you can see through the nonsense, you are woke. If you
As
feel
simple as that.
different than your family, your friends, and you just don't feel like you fit in with everybody else, it's because you're woke. And it's because you're not conforming to this so-called norm because there really isn't a norm.
Nothing but false ideas.
Yeah.
Thrown
And
out by people who don't even have the intelligence to carry them out.
they use literally no critical thinking. And we have to do critical thinking in this time because there's so much misinformation, AI out of control,
Disinformation.
showing us stuff and making it seem real. And we have to look outside of it. That's the only way we can stay away from those people that are trying to program us on a low frequency and a low level. See outside of the limited energies that they're putting out. If it sounds like BS, it's BS. Don't just go with it because they said it. Half of these people don't even know what they're saying. They're just
Exactly.
regurgitating information that they heard.
Yeah, who's the they you're following?
Yeah. I told someone, I don't follow religion. I think for myself. And they're like, oh, they laugh. Like, really? I'm like, that's funny. Like, I use my own brain. I don't know what you're laughing about, but at least I use my own brain, and you're sitting here regurgitating information from someone else's thought and their belief. So who is
Some archaic beliefs.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what you're doing is actually funny, and you need to elevate your mind. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go with religion. I'm just saying look at what you're really following and make sure that it fits your reality.
That it resonates with you.
Yeah.
The core of who you are.
Right. Then that will start to show you how, maybe I'm putting too much energy into something that's not elevating me, not helping me move forward. That's why I always feel stuck.
Right.
It's hard to find answers for our time, always looking in the past.
Exactly.
Because they haven't experienced this time.
And following doctrine that the purveyors of it don't want questioned. Everything
Right.
should be questioned. That's how we find the truth, the facts.
Yeah. I can't even go with anything that tells me not to use my own standing about something. Like, I'm going to use my own mind, my own mindset, my own mind, putting these things together because we all have different perspectives And we can all add that to what we are seeing.
Exactly.
Society, everything around us is built off of what we think we see, off of our shared reality.
Off of your individual cognition.
Yes. And we agree to see these things because we're all seeing different aspects of life. It's never the same situation for everybody.
We naturally have different perspectives because we're living literally different lives, even if we're sharing certain aspects about it.
Yeah.
Like we're in the same country, we have to abide by the same laws, the same president, those types of things.
Right.
But individually, we're going to have a whole different view of life and how it should go, how it is going.
Yes.
We're at different levels because of a capitalistic society financially.
Yep.
So whereas one person thinks life is great, there's nothing to worry about, another person, it's not the same story.
Right. So we got to open our minds so that we don't limit ourselves. We can't be narrow-minded when it comes to society and getting along with other people. That's how we will live life in a more harmonious way. See ourselves or put ourselves in, someone else's situation and not just judge them right away.
Understand what they're really going through.
Yes. But people nowadays really are short at that. They don't want to see what they want to judge what they think they see instead of getting to know someone and really standing them for who they are.
Well, we know that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Can't judge a book by its cover.
At all. And this is a very clear, standing that people have been sharing for decades. Even with slavery, it taught us can't judge people. Just because people look differently than you doesn't mean you can treat them like they aren't a real person.
Ted Bundy wore suits.
Yep.
Was a law student.
That's true.
And a serial killer.
Right.
Now, how many people on their initial observation of him would even think he would do something like that?
Yep. And that's how he fooled a lot of people because they were so limited minded. They weren't woke. They were thinking, oh, this clean-cut guy that is in college wouldn't do these things. So he was able to get away with it longer and manipulate the police.
Exactly.
Once that happened, that definitely made them look at people a little different and seeing that, they do have the capability of being a serial killer no matter how they look. And that's when we start learning about sociopaths and how people can seem a certain way, but they could have a whole different personality and they could be thinking something differently deep inside.
Which is easy to mask because we can't read their mind.
Right. So you have to stay woke when it comes to people. Don't just judge somebody. I mean, you might look at somebody and think, oh, that person looks like they're upset or mad or they're a mean person, and you might think they're a mean person, but maybe they just went through something that day. Maybe they're going through something. You just don't know, right?
Because you're catching a person in a moment.
Yes.
But you have no idea what that moment entails.
Right.
What they're going through. What's happening.
Yes.
What they're being reactive to.
Right. So
you don't know. You're a passerby. So you're not privy to that information. You just make a quick snap judgment and assessment that a lot of times can turn out to be incorrect.
Yeah, being woke allows you to expand your mind. You don't judge people just right off the bat. You start to hear somebody out before you make those quick judgments. And then we get to know each other more and people will relate to each other. We have more in common truly than we have different.
Yeah. For one, we have the same biological needs overall.
Yeah. We never get to know each other. We will never see that. If we always say, oh, this person looks different, I'm not going to deal with them, we'll never get to know who they truly are.
Diversity is the basis of this planet.
Yes, that's right. And you see these anti-wokers are trying to destroy that. So why would they want to do that? Because they see that the more woke we become, the more united we become.
The less power they have to influence others.
Right.
With the incorrect information.
Yes.
The more woke we are, the more it debunks their rhetoric of being superior, because they're really not.
Exactly. So being woke is actually a great thing. It's a superpower in my eyes. You got to focus on your inner power, your inner balance. You're balancing your energy. That will help you become more woke. Meditating, slowing down. We're always moving. We're moving fast, fast, fast. And yes, we are vibrating faster, but we have to take the times to enjoy the moments, because we don't
Exactly.
get them back.
Those calm moments.
Yes. It's kind of like savoring the flavor of the food. If you just eat your food really fast, first of all, you're going to have digestive problems. That's not good. But also, it just goes so quickly. The taste, it's gone, right?
There
But
was
if
no
you,
enjoyment to it.
yeah, but if you sit and take your time and really chew your food and enjoy that flavor, no matter
Right.
what you're
Savor it.
eating, don't worry about, oh, is this food good or bad? Because then you're taking away from the happiness that you're enjoying in the food, and that will affect how your digestive system works.
And really, what is this food good or bad to someone who has no food?
Right.
Perspectives.
Right. So the key is to be happy with whatever you're eating, so the good nutrients can come out of that food and your body can digest it properly. And that's the same thing with life. We have to enjoy it. Take these times neo by neo, and don't overwhelm ourselves with all of the stress that is in front of us, around us, inside of us. There's gonna be stress.
Right. It's gonna be there.
So we just have to take those stressful events one at a time, moment by moment, because that's all you can actually experience.
The moment. Because that's all there is.
Yeah.
There's like each wave in the ocean, moment by moment.
Facts. So the more we do that, the better our lives become, because we're really appreciating our lives and we're doing what we really enjoy to do.
Right. And humans are extraordinarily resilient.
Oh, yeah. For real.
We're very capable of adapting to different situations. We do it all the time. We've been doing it.
We do. Even from very young, we go through all types of growth spurts and
all
trying to figure ourselves out. It's a lot. It's a lot. And we have to give ourselves credit. That's another thing about being woke. You start to really realize that we need to, even with ourselves, stop judging ourselves in this negative way, because then we attract that type of energy back to ourselves.
And another reason a lot of the traditionalists don't like woke is because it dissolves their ideas.
Yeah.
They're no longer applicable in this world.
Yes, that's so
but they
true.
want to hold on to them.
Yes.
Because they're stuck in the past.
Yep. And you could see it in every, generational, like we can think about it when we think about the hippies, right? The hippies were woke. They were very woke. They were woke for their generation, because they were tired of just doing what everybody else was doing, and just being separate and not loving each other, and focusing on these old traditions once again.
Exactly. And they were exasperated with the geopolitical environment at the time.
Yeah. Right. War and all of these negative things that they didn't want to deal with. And it's like we didn't have any choice. It's like our country was the one pushing this and doing these things. And it's like we didn't really have a say in it. So people start speaking out against that.
Right. Questioning these so-called leaders.
Yeah. And that was a great thing. And then we have like the Black consciousness movement, that they were using the term woke for awareness of Black history.
Highlighting social injustices.
Yes. And, showing we are also conscious beings that are able to think on a higher consciousness realm, and not just so-called white people or people that are so-called having the supremacy over us. We have to get rid of that idea.
Right. Realizing that there is no superior or inferior humans.
Yes.
Humans are just human.
Exactly. And that's where we come in this neo age, because we are all about pushing the woke energy towards expansion of everyone. Seeing that it's beyond color, beyond race. It's really about the inner vibrations of us, not the external. That's very limited. It's third dimensional thinking, and we have to start thinking more in a fifth dimensional wave.
Right, because that's more primitive.
Yeah, right. We're evolved beings, you guys. It's literally 2025. And, today is the 25th. Wow. Look at that.
Synchronicity.
Yes, 32525. Those are those codes. We always see them and they always speak to us because that is how energy flows. When we say it speaks, it has a frequency that communicates. And that's how we communicate with everything around us is through frequency.
Yeah.
So if you continue to push anti-woke energy, you're always putting the negative frequency for people that are just expanding their minds and just living the lives that they want to live.
And it's such a problem. Because of what?
Yeah. Who do you really think you are that you should be able to tell somebody how they should represent themselves or how they should want to feel inside?
Conservative mindsets.
Yeah. It's really ridiculous. We have to be more expansive, mentally progressive. There's nothing wrong with progressiveness. That's actually evolution, right? Progressing. Okay?
Right.
Moving
evolution. Something that's always happening. Yes. And not one of us is going to stop it. No matter what we think about it.
Right.
It's not based on our perception.
Right.
Because we already know our perceptions cannot be considered truths.
Definitely.
Because a lot of the times they're based on our personal experiences, which are not truths. They're only a truth for you, the individual, not universally.
Exact. So ask yourself again, are you woke? And if you say yes, awesome. You are on the right path. As you should be. Don't listen to those haters, those anti-wokers. Trust me, they're not working with too many, working brain cells there. Okay?
Right. They don't even know what they're talking about most of the time.
Yes. And a lot of them like to troll the internet. Don't let it bother you.
They think DEI is the problem.
Right.
But really, what we have going on in this cabinet right now is DEI. A bunch of unqualified people only selected based on their race.
Yes.
Because that's what they think DEI is.
Right. When they definitely have that wrong.
They do.
It was just all about, having things become diverse because they limited it. They forgot that they were the ones that didn't allow other people, that were different from them, women, different races to, become on a higher level in different positions of jobs. Right.
So, allowing marginalized people to have opportunities.
Yes, just DEI is just about civil rights. That's all it is.
That's all it is.
It doesn't mean you're unqualified. They have to get that right.
And they're not just picking unqualified people for federal jobs. That's not how it works.
Okay.
Right, for any job.
Right. Come on. Every job. I don't care what job you work at. If you flip burgers, you have to be qualified to do that. You have to know how to flip it.
A company would be dysfunctional.
Thank you.
If they picked workers solely based on superficial features.
Yes. It would be ridiculous. Okay. So this is something that we need to stop spreading misinformation about. Okay. There's nothing wrong with being woke. And it's actually a great thing to be woke in this time. That just means you're an evolved being that's in tune with your higher consciousness.
We don't want to sleep through life, do we?
No.
So we'd rather be woke.
Yes, thank you.
Enjoying the beauty of it.
Right. Don't be a sleepwalker out here. Enjoy life. Be in tune with the Neo and stay woke. Because why not, right? Stay woke AF. For real.
Even when you have people out there disseminating dissension.
That's right. Yeah, so
they're not the majority, so don't worry about them.
No, not at all. And we are actually becoming the majority. And it's great to see, woke ones. I appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Definitely connecting with us and, listening to our podcast. And we're going to bring you more information because this is what we do. We go against that anti-woke and we bring you the info that will help to expand and stimulate your mind.
Yes. Expose those Xenos.
Yes. and all of the phobes, okay?
Right.
Right. But definitely stay woke AF, and we will bring you some more soon.
See you later, woke ones.
Follow and like our WokeAF podcast. Also, find us at Podcast WokeAF, at MsMastaFoXX, and at MsWhizdom on all socials, and at MsMastaFoXX on YouTube, at MsMastaFoXX, at MsWhizdom, and WokeAF podcast on Substack. And to support our channel, send tips to $Cosmic Fam on Cash App and Venmo. Remember, woke ones, stay woke AF.